Book of Heaven, Volume 29, JMJ, In Voluntate Dei, Deo Gratias, Part 1. February 13th, 1931. One who lives in the divine will lives in the center of its light, while one who does not live in it lives in the circumference of its light. How God finds his prop. How the creation is mute, while the creature is speaking creation. The echo of God in the creature. God, by manifesting his truths, leaves rest and continues his work. My life, my most sweet Jesus, oh, please come to my help. Do not abandon me. With the power of your most holy will, invest my poor soul and put out of me everything that troubles me and tortures me. Oh, please let the new sun of peace and love rise in me again. Otherwise, I feel no more strength to continue to make the sacrifice of writing. My hand is already shaking, and the pen does not flow on the paper. My love, if you do not help me, if you do not remove from me your justice, which justly knocks me down in the painful state I find myself in, I feel it is impossible for me to write even one word. Therefore help me, and I will strive as much as I can to obey the one who commands me to write everything that you have told me on your most holy will. And since these are past things, I will make altogether a little mention of each thing that regards your divine will. So, while I was feeling oppressed and all full of intense bitternesses, my sweet Jesus, making himself seen and sustaining me in his arms, told me, "My daughter, courage. Think that a divine will reigns in you, which is the source of perennial happiness and joy. So your bitternesses and oppressions form the clouds around the sun of my will, which prevent its rays from shining in all your being. And while it wants to render you happy, it feels the happiness it wants to give you, being rejected by your bitternesses. And even though you possess a divine will at your disposal, by virtue of your bitternesses, you feel the rain that oppresses you, that fills your soul up to the brim. In fact, you must know that one who lives in my will lives in the center of the sphere of the divine sun, and can say, 'The sun is all mine.' On the other hand, one who does not live in it lives in the circumference of the light which the divine sun spreads everywhere, because my will, with its immensity, can neither deny itself to anyone, nor does it want to deny itself. It is like the sun, which is forced to give light to all, even if not all of them wanted it. And why this? Only because it is light, and the nature of light is to give itself to all. to those who do not want it and to those who want it. But what great difference exists between one who lives in the center of my divine sun and one who lives in its circumference? The first one possesses the properties of the light and all of its goods, which are infinite. The light keeps her defended from all evils. So sin cannot have life in this light. And if bitternesses arise, they are like clouds, which cannot have perennial life. A little breeze of my will is enough to put to flight the thickest clouds, and the soul finds herself sunken within the center of its sun, which she possesses. More so, since the bitternesses of one who lives in my will are always because of me. And I can say that I am embittered together with you. And if I see you crying, I cry along, because my very will renders me inseparable from one who lives in it, and I feel her pains more than if they were my own. Even more, my very will, which resides in the soul, calls my humanity into one who suffers, to make it repeat its life living on earth. And oh, the divine prodigies that take place, the new currents that open between heaven and earth, because of the new life of pains that Jesus has in his creature. And my heart, while it is human, is divine. It possesses the sweetest tendernesses. The attractive and powerful tendernesses of my heart are such and so many, that as I see one who loves me suffer, my most tender love melts my heart and pours itself completely over the pains and over the heart of my beloved creature. Therefore, I am with you in suffering, and I do two offices of actor of pains and spectator, to enjoy the fruits of my pains, which I keep unfolding within her. Therefore, for one who lives in my divine will, I am sun and center of her life. So we are inseparable. I feel her life palpitating in me, and she feels my life palpitating in her inmost soul. On the other hand, one who lives in the circumference of the light which the sun of my divine will spreads everywhere, is not the owner of the light, because true ownership is said to be so when a good resides within oneself. And the good inside no one can take away from us, either in life or after death. On the other hand, the good outside is subject to danger, nor does it have the power to keep us safe. And the soul suffers weaknesses, inconstancy, passions that torment her, and reaches the point of feeling as though far away from her Creator. Therefore, always in my will do I want you to let me continue my life upon earth. Then I was continuing my little acts of adorations of love, of blessings, in the divine Fiat, for my Creator. And as I emitted my acts, the divine volition extended them everywhere, and in every place where the divine will was present, which is such that there is not one point in which it is not present. And my always lovable Jesus added, "Dearest daughter of my will, you must know that my volition knows not how to do acts by half, but complete ones, and with such fullness as to be able to say, wherever there is my will, there is my act." And our divinity, seeing the adoration, the love of its creature, laid within our divine will, finds its prop within its immensity, at whatever point it wants to lean. So we feel our profound adoration, which the creature has placed for us in our will, and we lean upon it, and we rest. We feel that she loves us everywhere, and we lean within her love, and so with her praises and blessings. So the creature in our will becomes our prop and our rest. And there is nothing that delights us more than finding our rest in our creature, symbol of the rest which we took after having created the whole creation. Furthermore, our divine will is present everywhere, and heaven and earth and everything are filled with it up to the brim. So all are veils that hide it, but mute veils. And if in their muteness they eloquently speak of their Creator, it is not them, but my very divine will, hidden in the created things, speaks by way of signs, as if it did not have speech. It speaks in the sun by way of signs of light and of heat, in the wind, giving penetrating and ruling signs. In the air it gives mute signs, such as to make itself breath of all creatures. Oh, if the sun, the wind, the air, and all other created things had the good of the word, how many things they would say to their Creator. But who is the speaking work of the Supreme Being? It is the creature. In creating her, we loved her so much that we gave her the great good of the word. Our will wanted to make itself word of the creature. It wanted to leave the muteness of created things, and forming in her the organ of the voice, it formed the word so as to be able to speak. Therefore, the voice of the creatures is speaking veil, in which my will speaks eloquently, wisely. And since the creature does not say or do always the same thing as the created things, which never change their action, they are always at their place, doing that same action which God wants from them. Therefore my will maintains the continuous attitude of the multiplicity of the ways which are in the creature. So it can be said that it speaks not only in the voice, but it renders itself speaking in the works, in the steps, in the mind, and in the heart of creatures. But what is not our sorrow in seeing this speaking creation making use of the great good of the word to offend us, making use of the gift to offend the giver, and prevent the great prodigy that I can make of graces, of love, of divine knowledges, of the sanctity which I can form in the speaking work of the creature. But for one who lives in my will, I am voice that speaks. And oh, how many things I keep manifesting to her! I am in continuous motion and attitude. I enjoy the full freedom to do and say surprising things. And I perform the prodigy of my will speaking, loving, and operating in the creature. Therefore give me full freedom, and you will see what my will can do in you. Then I was thinking about all that my sweet Jesus had told me, and my beloved good repeated. My daughter, the substance of our divine being is an immensity of most pure light, which produces an immensity of love. This light possesses all goods, all joys, interminable happiness, indescribable beauties. This light invests everything, sees everything, encloses everything. For it, there is neither present nor future, but one single act, always in act, which produces such multiplicity of effects as to fill heaven and earth. Now the immensity of love, which this our light produces, makes us love our being and everything that comes out of us, with such love as to render us true and perfect lovers. So we can do nothing other than love, and give love, and ask for love. Now for one who lives in our will, our light and our love echo in the creature, and transform her into light and love. Now, what happiness ours is in forming our types and models from the work of our creative hands. Therefore be attentive, and let your life be formed of nothing other than light and love, if you want to make your dear Jesus content. Then I was doing as much as I could to abandon myself completely in the divine will, and I was thinking of the many truths which blessed Jesus had manifested to me on his holy volition. Each truth embraced the infinite, and contained so much light as to fill heaven and earth. And I felt the strength of the light, and the weight of the infinite, which invading me completely with an unspeakable love, invited me to love them, and to make them my own, by putting them into practice. But while my mind was wandering within so much light, my sweet Jesus told me, "My daughter, our work toward the creature started with creation, and our work is in the Word, because containing our creative strength, it speaks and creates. It speaks and forms the most beautiful and marvelous works. In fact, with the work of 6 fiats that we pronounced, the whole great machine of the universe was formed, including man, who was to inhabit it and be the king of our so many works. Then, after having ordered everything, our love called us to rest. But rest does not mean completion of the work. It means pause, in order to resume the work again. Now, do you want to know when we resume our work again? Each time we manifest a truth, we resume the work of creation. So, all that was said in the Old Testament were resumptions of the work. My coming upon earth was nothing other than resuming the work for love of creatures. My doctrine, the many truths uttered by my mouth, pointed out in clear notes my intense work for the creatures. And just as in creation our divine being rested, so with my death and resurrection I wanted to rest, also to give the time to make the fruit of my work bear fruit in the midst of creatures. But this was always rest, not the completion of the work. Our work until the end of the centuries will always be alternation of work and rest, of rest and work. See then, good daughter, what a long work I had to do with you by manifesting to you so many truths on my divine will. And since the thing that most interests our Supreme Being is to make it known, I held nothing back for a work so long, though I have often taken small breaks of rest in order to give you the time to receive my work, and to prepare you for other surprises of the work of my creative word. Therefore be attentive to preserve and not to lose anything of the work of my word, which contains an infinite value that is enough to save and sanctify an entire world. Fiat. February 15th, 1931. How the divine life has need of nourishments in order to grow in the creature. The creature, with her love, forms in God Himself His divine life. How divine love possesses the seed of generating continuous life. My abandonment in the divine fiat continues, though I live in the nightmare of intense bitternesses, of continuous tears, and I am forced to live from the unhealthy air of agitations, which take away from me the beautiful serene day of peace, always enjoyed by me. I am resigned. I kiss the hand that strikes me, but I feel vividly the fire that burns me, of the many storms that are unloading themselves over my poor existence. My Jesus, help me. Do not abandon me. Oh, please give me peace, that peace which you so much wanted me to possess. And even though Jesus often tears the veils of the thick clouds that surround me by speaking a few little words to me, afterwards, however, I return, a little cheered, to my restless state. So my sweet Jesus, surprising me, told me, "My good daughter, courage, and do not fear that I might abandon you. I feel my life in you, and if I abandoned you, this life of mine in you would remain without food to make it grow, without light to make it happy. The real cortege of my divine life, which I myself have formed in you, would be missing. In fact, you must know that my life within myself has need of nothing, neither of growing, nor is it subject to decreasing, But my life that I keep forming in the creature, in order to make it grow, has need of divine nourishments to make it grow, in such a way that, little by little, my divine life may fill all the creature. Therefore I cannot leave you. And while it seems that I leave you, and it seems that everything is over between you and me, all of a sudden I come back to my little daughter to feed you the food of my will. In fact, you must know that my will is light, and the soul who lives in it is administered the properties of light. And while she operates, her works fill themselves with light, but so much as to overflow outside, in such a way that they appear to be done within the properties of the light of her Creator. If she loves, the properties of divine love fill the love of the creature. If she adores, the properties of the divine adoration fill the adoration of the creature. In sum, there is not one act that the creature does which the divine properties do not fill. In my will, what is human ceases. It remains nullified. And the creature has always something to take. The divine properties are at her disposal. Oh, if all knew what it means to live in my divine will, the great good that comes to them, and in the most simple way. Then I continued my abandonment in the divine fiat, and unable to do anything else, I kept saying my little I love you in the divine acts. Not only this, but I was saying to myself, my Jesus, my love, may my I love you flow in your heartbeat, in your breath, on your tongue, in your voice, and even in the smallest particles of your adorable person. But while I was doing this, my dear life, making himself seen, made me place my I love you in his heart, inside and outside of his whole divine person. And he enjoyed it so much that he incited me to repeat as many I love yous as I could, so as to be able to find the well-liked I love you in his whole being. And then clasping me to himself, he told me, my daughter, love is life, and when this love comes out of the soul who lives in my will, it has the virtue of forming in God himself the life of love. And since the substance of the divine life is love, the creature, with her love, forms in God another divine life, and we feel inside of our very selves our life formed by the creature. This life, which with her love, united to our will, because it is our will that administers to her the power, such that the creature can reach the point of forming the very divine life, all of love, within God. This life is the triumph of God and the triumph of the creature. And in act of triumph, we take this divine life which the creature has formed within our very selves, and we give it for the good of all creatures, as the precious gift that the little daughter of our will gives to all. And we anxiously await her to come with her love to form more divine lives within our Supreme Being. My daughter, our love is not sterile. On the contrary, it has the seed of generating continuous life. So as you were saying, I love you in my heartbeat, in my breath, So I generated another heartbeat, another breath, and so with all the rest, in such a way that I felt within myself the new generation of your I love you that formed the new life of my love. And oh, how happy I felt, thinking that my daughter was forming for me, inside of me, my very life within me, all of love. If you knew how moving is this act of the creature, which with her love gives God to God, oh, how it enraptures us. And feeling enraptured, we give more love to have the contentment of making her repeat our new lives of love. Therefore, love, love very much, and you will make your sweet Jesus happier. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 29, Part 1. Fiat.